Hey guys, welcome back to Real Love
Real
Scenario.
scenario.
Shout out to all my real lovers out there. We are back, Rhonda,
We are back.
and we're
Welcome back.
virtual. This is
Welcome
our
back. Welcome
first
back.
live show, so it's exciting to be able to do this so that
Very.
people can join in on the conversation and share their opinions. So as we grow, this is the first one, so we know people still got to get hip and they got to know we're going to be on here. But if you are
Mhm.
listening and you're a loyal listener of the show, make sure that you come on YouTube every Tuesday at 8 p.m. to join us live to hear us talk about the scenarios that people write into us, but also you can include your 2 cents now into how you feel,
Please.
what you think, how think is the best way to handle the situation. So we're excited to do that, and that's the main reason why we changed this format so that you all can join us.
Absolutely. And listen, the way that people get hip to it is by you sharing and you telling. So remind your friends, remind your family, send it to your boo or your potential boo that this is where we're going to be every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. We need you to help us grow this community.
For sure. And if you want to join the Real Lover Gang, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, do all of the things that are free to you but mean a lot to us. So we're super excited to get started for our first live virtual real love scenario. So I'm gonna hop into it. But before we hop into it, I gotta shout out one of our real lovers. We got Courtney Jeffries 7870, and this was simple. Love the new setup. So Courtney was like, I
Hey,
like the virtual, I like to be
Courtney.
able to talk. I'm looking for Courtney right now. You need to be on here. That's what you need to do. But
That's what
we
you
ain't gonna
need to
call you.
be.
I probably shouldn't call her out right now. But yeah, we want to see you on here so you can give your opinion. But glad that you love the new setup. Like we said, we do it for all of our real lovers so that everyone can join
Yeah.
and be a part of what we're doing. So we're super excited to grow this. We're going to have a lot of people that are going to be a part of it. Shout out to Gloria who just said what's up in the chat. That's what I'm talking about. Welcome. And I hope
Hey.
that we get more people who join throughout the time that we're doing this. And I want to have a lot of special guests that come on. Hey, Crystal. Y'all know Crystal who was on the show. Her episode was real good. Friend of the
Oh,
show.
hey, Crystal, friend of the show. What's up, girl? What's up, friend? Hey, friend. Listen, also, Courtney is a day one real lover. We saw Courtney from girlfriend to fiance to now wife. So
For
even if she's
sure.
not live right now, I know she's gonna be in the replay gang. So I'm not worried one bit.
Hey, we got them flowing in. Jasmine, what's up? Brittany, what's up? Yeah, we about to get started. We're gonna have some fun in discussing this scenario. And make
Absolutely. Yeah.
sure, I want to emphasize, if you join our relationship community that we just launched with Relationship Restored, you will be able to come up on stage with Rhonda and I and give your 2 cents actually on the show. So we're really excited for that element. And if you want to join, go to relationshiprestored.com / community, and you could join the community. So Rhonda, before we get in, you ready to hit this real love scenario so we can start
I,
discussing?
I'm ready. I'm ready. I feel like this is a first for us. So I'm excited. I love when it feels like a fresh scenario that we can give some fresh perspective to. So I'm always ready.
All right, awesome.
Okay, here we go. Now we hear from another lovely young lady who says, "Hey, Dre and Rhonda, much love and appreciation for your perspective and investment in healthy relationships. Thank you. That means so much to us. I met
Yes,
my
it
partner
does.
in April 2024, and 4 months later, we were in a relationship. We verbally discussed the transition to relationship. Our values and things seem to align, but I'm honestly not happy about certain aspects of it. I'm trying to determine if I'm holding myself back from what I deserve or if my expectations are unrealistic. My partner was incarcerated for over 20 years, and the effects of that are present. His emotional and relational maturity are impacted by being in an environment where survival is more important than emotional regulation and considering others. His responses can be overly aggressive and lack consideration. His words can be harsh, and understanding of others' emotions is truly lacking. My attraction to him is his appreciation for every day and his desire to live life to the fullest. We have a lot of fun together. We have great sexual chemistry. He's consistent, good and bad. He's super affectionate and he's motivated to build a fulfilling life. What turns me off is his attitude switches, his desire to club and party all the time, and his limited ability to see me. He seems to seek validation through social media, making posts that aren't reflective of the person that I know. He seems to want to come across as single and looking for something real versus a man who's in a quality situation. I want him to make an effort to understand me and my feelings, grow up, let the club go, and be more mature online. Am I wasting my time in this relationship or do I have an unrealistic expectation? It's a mouthful. That was a mouthful.
Mm.
So much,
Thank
Rhonda.
you
As
for
always, we appreciate you taking the time to share with us your scenario and be vulnerable.
for sure, for sure. Nah, I appreciate it. So we gotta go ahead and get started around it. Well, first, my first question, and y'all can let me know. This is random, and I'm not even trying to be funny or anything like that. But with
Yes, you
people
are.
who I'm not trying to be funny. I'm not. I'm not. This is a genuine question that I always wanted to ask because I
Mhm.
know some people who have, not anybody really close to me, but I've interacted with people who have. So, like, is it rude when somebody has gone to jail to ask them what they went to jail for?
I don't think it's rude. No. Mm.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I
I didn't
feel
know.
like it can come across as a personal question if you really don't know them, but I don't. I think that's a very natural question,
Okay. Because if you
and they
ask, if
certainly
you,
have the choice to say there's none of your business.
very true. Because also, you going to jail doesn't come up naturally in conversation. So if you were
Nope.
open enough to share that you went to jail, then I should be able to ask why. Because 20 years is
Yeah,
a long time. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, yeah. Yes, it
that's a
is.
long time.
Yes, I would like to. I would like to start off with immediately no. Okay, it's a hard no for me. 20. The hell, I barely want to date you if you've been for two.
Oh man, I
20.
just
What
wonder
you
what
did?
it.
What did you
I
do?
think a natural curiosity is like what happened, right? That's natural.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, that's for sure. And I mean, lots of things can get you 20 years. You could also be doing 20 years because of multiple offenses. So, sometimes maybe you had multiple charges and you got concurrent things after 5 years, but still, 20 is
Crystal was
20.
right. She said over 20, actually.
Oh, oh, yep.
So
True, because she did say over 20.
over 20. Jasmine said if they could commit a crime, they should be able to handle the question.
Agreed.
So I guess it's not rude to ask that, but I was just wondering because I see interact with people all the time and wonder like, is it, you know, bad to ask that? But like I said, I guess if it comes up in conversation, it's okay, especially if I'm considering you as a possible partner
Yes,
to
of
spend the rest of my
course.
life with. But where you want to start with this, Rhonda? How you want to break this down?
I mean, I think we have to start with the massive elephant in the room, which is the reality of what incarceration does to anyone. You know what I mean? Especially a long term incarceration. It does not take long for confinement of that sort to have a really strong impact on a person. And I think ultimately that is probably the biggest root of this scenario is that you're dating a man who served time and a significant amount of time, and it would be almost crazy to think that being behind bars for that long did not alter his mind, did not alter who he was, and in many ways probably regress who he could have been. 20 years behind bars versus 20 years out in the free world is a world of difference, literally. And so I think, because I try not to demonize anybody, right? People can truly reform. You know what I mean? Like, prison is designed for reforming. That's not usually what happens, but that's what it's designed for. So some people can certainly go serve their time, come home and be wonderful contributors to their families, to life, to lots of things, but it's still a heavy lift. But I do think that it is highly unreasonable for someone to be able to commit. Doesn't mean it won't happen, but it's highly unreasonable to expect someone who has not been able to actually be with a woman for 20 years to come straight out and be able to show up and be the man that you really want him to be, regardless of what he's actually saying. So I think I just kind of want to start with the concept because neither you nor I have done time, right? So we can't speak to what that does. But I have family members, my father being one of them, who did time. And I know for a fact that he was a different person when he was in jail versus when he was out. And, I can just, I think back to those times, right? And it was, I actually probably had the best relationship with my dad when he was in jail. That's
Mm.
crazy to say, but he didn't have a lot of time on his hands to do all the things that he would be doing out in the streets. He couldn't abuse drugs, he couldn't womanize, he couldn't do any of those things. So we talked regularly. I got letters from him regularly. He made
That's
sure
your
we
like relief, right? Like your connection to the outside world.
Yes, absolutely. And so I would guess, I don't know because she didn't include this, but I have a strong feeling that this relationship probably started while he was there or maybe close to him leaving. Because listen, the men in the jail got access to the outside for dating purposes. I see it. I see it online. I definitely see it online.
For
But yeah,
sure.
I wonder like kind of what your thoughts are on how prison could have a really heavy impact on someone, and can they realistically come out and just kind of hit the ground running into a new relationship.
Yeah, like you said, no experience personally with
Yeah.
being locked up, but I think number one is the purpose of it, for better or for worse, is to be different from
Mm-hmm.
when you went in to when you exited, right? So that should be
Yeah.
an expectation that the person who went in is completely different than the person who is now out. But
Yeah.
always like this, I was reading this book and the author was talking about, and I've said it before on the show, um that a lot of people think we're masters of our own beliefs, but we're more mirrors of our own experiences, meaning that a lot of people think that they are controlling their actions and the thing that they're saying, and this could be like this, but really we are working off of the things that we're experiencing on an everyday basis. And with that being said, when you are in prison, you are adjusting to those experiences, and those experiences are shaping who you are, especially for 2 decades, and you have to adjust to survive in that environment. Surviving is not only even a physical space you got to put yourself in to protect yourself, but it's mentally to cope through things. It's
Yeah.
emotionally to cope through things, spiritually to cope through things. You see people who go in different religion, they end up converting to something like the person that they
Yeah.
were when they came in is not actually who they are. So it completely
Yeah.
transform you, and the person that you were before. So I think that the expectation for anybody dating someone, especially who's been locked up for over 20 years, is that if you're trying to undo any of that conditioning or that experience, it's going to take time. Like you are signing up for the marathon and not the sprint. You know what I'm
For
saying? Like
sure.
you just have to know that off the bat. Like it's just going to take some time to get readjusted. You have men who have never been to prison and they commit and still have trouble staying faithful.
Thank you.
And they've already had access and they made the decision
Yes.
to get in the relationship. So now you choose somebody who didn't have any access, and now
Mm.
he has the ability to freely, be with or do whatever he wants. The adjustment period, even if in his heart he doesn't want to do it, the adjustment period is going to be hard and it's going to take some time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you made such a good point. Like, it's men who have been people that's outside and free and have access that still struggle relationally and emotionally to regulate and to get along with people. And so, someone who is not even, I mean, they're seeing 9 times out of 10 the same people over and over and over again in most cases the same gender or primarily the same gender every day, all day. Their lives are extremely routine. They get up at the same time, they eat at the same time, they go to bed at the same time, they wearing the same thing every day. Like, seriously, think about the world 20 years ago. Let's just round it up to maybe
Yeah,
22 years ago. Like,
let's
like
take a
think about
time
it.
back. What was happening 20? All right, I'm 31. So
Hmm.
I was okay. Let me see. Maybe we had razors. Was it flip phones and sidekicks? That's where we was at.
Yeah,
We could play
definitely.
Tetris on our phones. Like we could not.
Exactly. I either had a sidekick and a BlackBerry or just a BlackBerry. It was one of the two. What one of the two. Like literally struggling to text on them raised buttons on the phone. Like even when I think about partying 20 years ago, clearly people still party today, but 20 years ago, like, oh my God, I was 21. Like that was everything to me. The club was the vibe. Even everything we saw, the music videos. That was the life that you aspired to be in. When this man went in, it's a whole new world today. We did at 20 years ago, we did not have Instagram. 20 years
Yeah,
ago, we did not have YouTube. You know what I mean?
not
Like
at
a
all. I mean,
lot
we
of
was getting
things
our
have
movies from
changed.
Blockbusters. It wasn't no streaming services. It wasn't
No,
nothing.
no,
Even I
no.
remember, this is a sidetrack though, but I remember I was talking to somebody and they were like, "Oh, people aren't eating pizza as much anymore, right?" And I was like,
Mhm.
"Well, if you think about it, if you wanted something delivered to your house and didn't want to go and get it, really it was only like two options. You get some pizza or the carry out. Like that was really it. You couldn't order
That was
Red
it.
Lobster and have it delivered to your house, or order,
No,
your Outback
you
and have it
couldn't.
delivered to your house. Like it was just pizza, especially late night too. Like pizza or the
Mhm.
carry out. And I don't even know if every place has a carry out like in this area. So it was really
Yeah,
pizza. That was it. But
it
like you
was
said,
really
so
pizza.
many things have changed over that time. So it's just like, and
Mhm.
when you're inside, I know they get a little bit of things that like they, you know, hear of and see, but they don't really grasp the full impact of it. I
No.
remember one time, I one of my old teammates in high school, his brother had went to jail, and I remember he had got out like years later. I
Mhm.
graduated college, all this stuff, and then he seen me. He was like, "What's good, bro?" I was like, "Hey, what's going on?" And he was like, "So how'd the football thing work out? You make it to the NFL? Like, what happened?" And I'm just like, "Yo, you was gone that whole time." I did not realize that. It's been like 6 years, though. Like
Yeah,
I've been to
yeah.
college, played football, graduated, working, like everything. And it's like
Mhm.
catching up with the world. It's like hits you all at once. And I can imagine it's overstimulation, right?
Absolutely. Like you don't know what new thing you want to do first. What new? Well, shut up. Wait, we doing what? We can go where? You can eat your food on your phone. Like I can call a taxi in the phone. I don't have to go outside and like put my finger out for the. It's too much. It's
Was
way too much.
Pornhub a thing in 20 years ago? Just, or were they still flipping open Playboys?
Now why why would you think that I would know the answer to that question, bro?
I'm just, I was 11, Rhonda. I don't, you was a little bit older than me at that time. I ain't have access to that.
Oh, I don't think so. I
Oh,
think
Crystal said
the people who
XXX
were
was.
I think the people who were into watching porn were going to the video store. There were blockbusters for adult
Oh,
videos.
adult video stores. See, that take more work. You can pull out your phone now and just like
I'm
that's
not
a completely
suggesting I've
different
ever been
experience.
to one, but from what I know, from what I've heard, there were video
On
stores where you
14th
could
and,
go
and
to.
3rd Street.
Yes, where you could rent they would have specials on certain days that we can get two for the price of one. No, that's what somebody told me. That's what I was told. That's what I was told. So,
Oh,
but yeah, I do want people to chime in, the people that are in the comments, as we kind of get into the meat of like emotional regulation and what that really means. I want to know, like, would you date someone who has been incarcerated for 20 years? If you met someone today and they were like, yeah, I just got out 3 months ago. I'm out here looking for love and I'm a good person. Like, would you actually date? Just drop your answers in the chat. But when you think about emotional regulation or when you hear that term, what does that mean to you?
emotional regulation.
Yeah.
First, I think it's, I don't know, not the same, but very much related to emotional IQ, right? And
Mm.
emotional maturity. Because in order to be able to regulate something, you have to know everything that you're dealing with, from an emotional standpoint. And I think if you can't even identify your own emotions or the things that you're dealing with, how can you even regulate that? And also being truthful with how you feel, right? And your emotions, and
Yeah.
being willing to confront that and be honest with yourself. So I think those all go hand in hand, but you have to be able to be honest with yourself about how you're feeling, and understand your own feelings before you can start to try to regulate your emotions.
Absolutely, man. I agree. And I think emotional regulation is like the single most important part to like being in relationship with people, even if it's not romantic relationships. Like it's absolutely knowing and understanding, like you said, your own emotions, but how to manage them when it's time for you to express them, when it's time for you to share them, when it's time for you to receive someone else's emotions. It's being able to identify, okay, I'm getting angry. The regulation is, how do I express my anger? The regulation is, I can't flip all this stuff over. The regulation is, I have to say, I'm getting really upset right now. I'm really angry. I need a moment. I need to take a walk. Or you know what? I'm gonna go to the gym and I'm gonna take it out on the machine because I got to get the anger out of my body. Like that is regulating. That to me is regulating. And if someone has not been able to spend time with their own, the comments must be going crazy. If
No,
someone is
it's
not
just
able
when
to
you said I
identify
gotta
their own
get it,
emotions,
when you said I gotta get it out, and you was like, I gotta get it out on a machine.
oh, it was
I was like,
it
some
was the
people be
cabinet
trying to, some people would get it out in
getting
other
out on the
ways. That's
people.
probably, yeah.
Hey, whatever works for you. I'm not even gonna lie. I've definitely gotten it out there. It's a great stress reliever. It's a great stress reliever, honestly. And I would actually recommend for things that aren't too heavy, no pun intended, like for frustration between each other that's light. Sometimes that is actually, that's why they call it act right. That's literally why they call it act right. We just need to go in here, have a little conversation horizontally, and the problems will get worked out. Sometimes you just got to get the frustration out of your body, but to me that's regulation. And if this man, who again I don't believe is in touch with even understanding his own emotions in a open and free world, actually sitting down and talking with people in front of him, understanding the comfort of being able to touch your loved ones in front of you, like he hasn't even really been able to do that for so long. Trying to get him to the maturity of regulation is like, I don't know, it sounds like a science project. Like it's way too complicated. And so I do think, to our real lover, it is a bit of an unrealistic expectation that you would think that he is in a position, after only being out of prison for give or take a year, that he can actually do that for you. It's unfair of
Yeah,
you to expect that of him today.
for sure. It's gonna be really tough. And I will say, like, it's this is new, having the chat a part of it. Like, our people are so funny. It's like you try to be serious, and Jasmine said that's not about to be part of my testimony. When you asked,
Mine
would
neither, Jasmine.
um but I want to play a little devil's advocate here, right? Because
Mhm.
we do this a lot. We have conversations, and I go out, very social, and I talk to people, and here it ends
Mhm.
up happening where I talk to somebody, oh, you're married, and then we end up talking about relationships, right? But
Yeah.
I know sometimes for women it's tough, right? And you
Mhm.
always hear, like, strip away all the checklists, and you can meet a good person anywhere, and like you don't want to limit yourself, when it comes to going out there and dating, so you want to be open to find somebody. And regardless of whatever, because listen, I have friends who are women. I have homegirls who are women. I know women that's dated married men. I know women that's, so it's like, y'all have y'all standards sometimes, but y'all break y'all rules a lot of times too for the right person.
Yeah.
I ain't even show you what over 20 years look like, right? That might have you thinking something completely different than what you originally was thinking, just based off of 20 years. So then if you meet somebody, you start conversing with them. And although that may be something that you know or maybe not know initially, right? You start to actually like the person that they are. And then when you find out this information, or sometimes what a lot of people do is they build this fantasy in their head when they meet somebody they have chemistry with and are nice with, before they really even know much about them. And we talked about this in the last episode, that then you build a future with them in your mind. So now every negative, you're trying to unbuild the future that you already created in your head. So now, after maybe 2 or 3 dates, then you find out he was 20 years incarcerated, but now you liked him, you're attractive with him, you had chemistry with him, you had all these things. And, once you learn if it's a non-violent offense or something like that, most people I know who's been incarcerated, typically have a story for what led them to that situation and why they're in that situation in the first place. I
Mhm.
can see how somebody might look or how somebody can fall into a situation like that and be like, well, maybe, when I'm with him, it's great. He loves me. I love him. Like, I can see that. So, what is your advice to women in that situation about like that balance? Because I personally know somebody who went to jail and they ended up meeting somebody, got married, they love each other up and down, relationships great, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just, what's that balance there?
I mean, listen, there are exceptions to every rule. I've said that so many times on this show. Yes, there are people who I believe Centoya Brown. I don't fully know her story, but she was incarcerated, wrongfully incarcerated, or rightfully, but her case was overturned. She was in prison for a very long time. She came home. She got married. From what I know, she's still with her husband. They met while she was in prison. It worked out for her. So, yes, it all things are possible, but we have to talk about probability and not just possibility. How probable is it that this will be successful without you having to go through the marathon versus the sprint? And relationships in general are a marathon. But when you talk about the barrier to entry, the cost of admission, is it worth the cost when you really could just meet someone who hasn't had such a background? If he is going to do the work and he is coming to you and saying, listen, I know that I sat in a cage, for lack of a better term, for 20 years, and I know that I'm regressed. I know that there's work that I have to do. I know that it's going to be things that I'm not going to understand about this world, let alone your emotions. I need you to help me find a therapist, or I'm going to work on finding me a therapist. The man got to find a job in order to even get a therapist. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's the priority here? Getting employment or getting a doctor? I would bet it's employment. You know what I'm saying? So if he can be serious about it, understand how much work is going to be done, and he's really committing and showing you, unlike the man in the scenario who's clubbing, who's enjoying himself on social media, making it look like he's single. If he's going to do all of that work, which again is not probable, it's not likely, then great. Maybe you'll have your man. But I'm guessing that's not always going to be the case, and it's highly unlikely. So I would steer clear of it.
That makes sense.
Either
And
way.
we've talked about that on this show before, that everything's about odds in life. Like, there, because we all know there are no absolutes in life. Everything is about odds. What gives you the best odds to do X, Y, and Z? You want to be in a happy, healthy relationship. What gives you the best odds for that? So exactly what you're saying makes sense. But also, I'm thinking again, never being in this situation, that as I'm getting adjusted to real life and as I'm getting adjusted to life outside of prison, having somebody to hold me down while I'm making that adjustment ain't too bad of a setup to have if I could find it.
Yeah, and I want to get into that because that is unfortunately probably what's happening here. I just don't know of anyone, any woman that I know that has dated a man who either did the time with him, so you were with him before you went to jail and then you stayed with him through the whole process. You are in fact a bit of a recovery center, for lack of a better term. You are a bit of a rehab facility for this man. He is probably using you for housing and room and board because, well, he doesn't have income in order to get his own stuff because he has to rebuild his life. He's got to get on his own too. He could do that with his mother. He could do that with his father. He could do that with family members. But why do it with family members when he has you, a person that he can hold and cuddle with and have sex with, something he hasn't been able to do? Okay, I'm not going there. Something he hasn't been able to do for the
Don't
time
go
that
there.
he's I'm not going there. I'm just not, because we will not turn this podcast into jail talk. Um, but yeah, why would he do that? You know what I mean? He's going to probably in some ways even need your help navigating like the internet. Like depending on how long he was in jail, he doesn't even understand. Like, yes, they do have that in some prisons. So I'm not making it sound like that, but filling out an actual job application. How do you write a resume for someone who has no work history for 25 years, 30 years, 15 years? How do you do that? So yes, you are a bit of a recovery place for him. And if you're, or her, if you're okay with that, I guess. But sis to sis, ladies, I don't want you doing that, especially if you are at a particular station in your life. It's not your responsibility. You can support him, you can encourage him from afar, but he doesn't get to just take up place in your home, especially if this wasn't even your husband when he was incarcerated. When he went to prison, this was not your husband. You don't have vows with this man. This was your boyfriend, and or didn't become your boyfriend until he got home from jail. So again, why are we doing that? It's not to demonize or say that people who did time are bad people, but to think that they are capable of meeting you where you are, giving you what you need, even meeting you, let's call it half the way. I don't want us doing that. I just think it's a bad scenario. I think a man who is truly focused on rebuilding his life is not going to start with trying to rebuild his life alongside a woman that he just met. He's going to be focused on trying to get a job, trying to get education, trying to learn a trade, trying to do whatever he can to just put one foot in front of the other to take care of himself so that he can then take care of a woman. That should be his focus. And I would be scared or worried about a man that's putting it in the reverse.
So Rhonda, Brittany in the chat said, I just want to point out at times some of us are finding love later in life, and we sometimes lose patience and tolerance for certain things we have been through and ain't trying to go again. I think
I
that's real
agree.
too.
Hey, girl, what? Who you know you talk, girl? Hey, you here? Baby, I'm 41. No ring. No ring. Okay. So I get it. I get that feeling of being like, well, this is kind of all I have left, but it's a defeated mindset. It's a defeated mindset. Just as there are women who have been waiting for a long time and preparing themselves to be wives, I can assure you that there are men that are doing the same thing, that are waiting and preparing themselves to be husbands, and they're looking for you just as much as you're looking for them. I know it doesn't always feel that way, but the truth is it is. And maybe we need to just broaden our horizons and explore other options. Not
But I just
men that came out of jail, but other options.
But I just gotta say this. This is the big bro hat on, because Rhonda and I always talk about, you need a homeboy sometimes that can really just let you know what things are and can give you the real.
Yeah.
So I always say this, and if you listen to this show, I've said it a million times, is that if you want to get a good grade in class, the first thing you have to do is show up to class. Before you start asking for tutoring, office hours, if you can't even show the commitment of showing up to class every single day, I'm not wasting my time giving you office hours and special sessions and extra credit. Now, if you show up to class, right, every single day and you're struggling in the class, then we could talk about what things we can do to help improve, your performance in this class. And it's the same with relationships. The first thing I need is a commitment. Before we talk about healing, you growing from past traumas, if you ain't here with me, then what are we even talking about? And I say that all the same, coming from Big Bro or Dad, whoever people like to call me, is that if a man ain't ready, ain't nothing you can do to make him change. That is a decision he got to make.
Say it again and slower.
I can tell you from firsthand. I've dealt with it. I've been, and I'll say this too. The intention doesn't matter. Like, I have dated a woman in college. Like, I dated my girlfriend in college, and I had every intention of wanting to be with her, wanting to be great, wanting to be everything I possibly could to her, but I was not ready. I could still see things and be like, dang, you know what? I want to pursue that. versus being like, nah, I'm good. Like in my situation, I wasn't truly satisfied. And a man has to get to a place of satisfaction before he can really truly commit to the woman he's going to be with. Until he's there at that point, it's just not going to happen. So you're always going to be chasing and trying to figure it out. And the thing is that the a man can still see, right? When he's in a relationship with somebody he loves and he's satisfied. But his mindset at that point is just like, it's not worth it. If somebody asks me, do you find that woman attractive? I would say as attractive as robbing a bank to get $1,000,000. Yeah, $1,000,000 would be nice, but I ain't willing to go to jail and pay the consequences of getting $1,000,000 that way. So I'm good. But if you can't make him do that, he has to do that. And you know how men typically get there? They get it out of their system. So they got to do it. Like, I wish we can say, I know some of those issues may come from trauma, but therapy, in my opinion, ain't working all that out. Sometimes he got to get it out and be like, oh, this wasn't what I thought it was. Oh, because I can, and I'll leave it here. I feel the way I feel because I have done certain things, right? I feel like I've been with attractive women. I've had sex with that woman or that woman or that person of that ethnicity or this person of that ethnicity. And I kind of got it out of my system for me to be like, I have experienced that and know what it is, and I'm good. I know that there isn't anything there for me. But if you haven't experienced it yet, sometimes the only way to know what it is get it out your system. Now, some women do stay with a man as he experiences. But just know there's going to be a lot of heartache and pain. And at the end of it, he still may end up not choosing you.
Ooh, hoo, 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 hoo. And guess what? Guess what that spells? Say it with me, guys. Resentment. You hate that. Okay. You don't want that. Even if he does choose you and then but you stay, that resentment is just building. It's building. It's just like it's building a mountain inside of you to say, I was here for this. I held you down for that. Da, 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 da. No, you don't want to be in a relationship where you're having to keep score like that, where you're having to feel like you gave the ultimate sacrifice and you can't even get back what you're giving. And if we even set aside, let's just remove the component of he was incarcerated. There's so many things in here that he is doing that even if he had been a free man for the last 20 years, would be indicative of a man that is not ready, appearing or posting as if he's looking for something or looking for someone online, appearing single when he's in a relationship with you. That's not a man that's ready. A man that struggles to see you. I'm sorry. You've been in jail. What you gonna see me because I'm confused. So I'm not dealing with that. But even if again he had never been incarcerated, a man who's struggling to see you where you're begging for his time and attention in person, that's not a man that's serious about you. A man that's serious about you is going to see about you. He going to see you and he going to see about you. A man that hears you and wants to understand where you're coming from. He's saying he struggles with that. He's saying y'all have fun together. Of course. You know how many times I've gone out with people I didn't even know and had a good time with them? Don't take much. That's the cost. Again, that cost of admission is low. I've been out with strangers or went out by myself. I was just in Florida for Christmas alone, had a lovely time with the family next to me. I don't know those people. I don't know them, but we had fun and it was nice. So having fun with someone that's not enough. You know what I mean? So it's just so many things in here. He's seeking validation online. Of course, he's not just seeking validation online, honey. He's seeking validation in general because he doesn't even know what that's like. For 20 plus years, he's been a number. He's been a number. He's been treated like a number, even though he's more than that. He's certainly a person. So when you think about that, of course you're going to pop. Of course you're going to want to show out and show off. It's people that's been waiting for him to come home. And if he's anything like many of the men that I know, not only do they go to jail and come home with a new religion, sometimes they go to jail and come home with a new body. Okay. They in tip top shape. Okay. They look good. Yes. So there are lots of things about the situation that just say, no, no, probably not ideal for you to be in this type of situation with him. He just does not give, I am as committed as you are. And that's before I even get into when she said he has these attitude issues. Like it almost sounds like he's like snappy or
Yeah.
harsh in some of the things that he might say to you. Other than good
Yeah.
sex and having fun together, I'm actually not even sure what you have. I'm not. And I say that with love and respect, but also we are about sometimes having to give you tough love. I'm not sure what you're getting out of this other than that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you made a good point. Um, and we've talked about it on this show. Is the difference between chemistry and compatibility. And I
Mhm.
always say that more relationships fail because of lack of a compatibility than a lack of chemistry. Like you said, chemistry easy. Like we can vibe out with anybody, right?
Yeah,
But compatibility is much more challenging. Like to find, and compatibility is not just do we believe in the same things? It's also the timing of this relationship. It's where you are in life. It's so many things that make the operational aspect of a relationship make sense because we can find chemistry with a lot of different people. But that also, one thing we talked about on the show too, is the difference between a companion and a partner. And it's really like, hey, if I have a companion, this is just somebody I'm having fun with. You see a lot of people like later on in life, like for instance, like even grandparents or things like that, that their spouse dies and they say like, I'm never getting married again, and they find a companion. We not mixing finances, we not doing nothing, we're just enjoying time with each other and having fun. But
yeah,
if you want a partner, you have to be compatible. It doesn't work because you're going and doing things together. So if you're in a situation where you guys are unequal or in a completely different place in life, even if the chemistry is there, it's not really going to work. And what I'm going to do is, because we like to give a paint a full picture. We play devil's advocate on the show. We give full perspectives. I think a lot of our disappointment in our life comes from the expectations that we put out there, right?
yeah, yeah,
So, and I know I've said earlier, there are no absolutes in life either. Could this work? Possibly, right?
yes,
But I'm just letting you know, if you choose to go down this path, what to expect. It is going to, if it does happen, it is going to take a long, long, long time for these things to be undone, mainly because it took a long time to, we're not even talking about any childhood traumas that possibly could make up the man. We just talking about being incarcerated and the things that come from that. Then you throw in the childhood traumas, all those things. Like it's going to take some time, some heartache, some pain, some feelings hurt to get through it. And even if you help him through all that, again, the man that he ends up transforming into may not be the one that even wants you. So
oh,
just giving you the expectation that if you want to stay in this, there's a percentage chance in a world out there that it may could happen,
yeah,
but the odds of it happening successfully
hmm,
are probably not high. And I also want to put a point that that doesn't mean he's a bad person,
yeah,
because there are people who have the best intentions, but they still haven't developed the skills and worked through past things that allow them to operate in the most mature space. So you have to give him grace by sometimes letting him go and letting him have the space. And I think Crystal said in the comments, like if he gets his stuff together and it gets to a point to where it does make sense, maybe the block gets circled back. Not because you waiting because he came back around. But I
yeah,
wouldn't suggest, as we're going into this scenario, and giving our advice, I wouldn't suggest hanging on to that situation. It doesn't sound like it's the best environment for yourself and honestly for him to grow. And like KK just said, that's tough love.
that's tough love, babe. And like we've got to do that for each other. I was talking on Instagram yesterday about how strongly I believe that Black love is a community effort, right? And you think about the Black love that we grew up with. I'm not suggesting that we all came from the same homes that had this warm and loving experience, but one thing I believe surely I grew up in a loving environment, and it wasn't always sweet love. It was not always telling me what I wanted to hear or coddling me. Sometimes it was telling me you are making a bad decision, or you're not doing something that makes sense, or you are not going to take that particular detour because I went before you and I could tell you it just doesn't work out like you think it's going to work out. Sometimes it was those really tough conversations that set me straight and got me going where I need to go. That doesn't change just because we've become adults. And I think in this pursuit of ensuring that we restore people's relationships, pun absolutely intended, it is going to require some tough conversations. It's going to require some looking in the mirror. It's going to require it's going to require us to be able to say to one another, that's stupid. You're not stupid, but that's stupid. And I'm not, it just is what it is. And I'm gonna hug you and I'm gonna hold your hand through it. But we have to be able to say that to one another. And I know for me and my girlfriends, we have those types of conversations like, girl, that's dumb. Like, why are you still doing that? Like that, you know, you can choose to still do it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not suggesting that you stop because you're asking for my advice. I don't think it's a good idea. It's your life ultimately. But if we're going to save ourselves, if we are going to get to the into the healthiest forms of relationships, we have to be able to say to one another, that's not healthy for you, that's not good for you. And honestly, the mental impact that prison has on him could easily rub off on you by being in a relationship with him so soon after he's gotten out of jail. It is already rubbing off on you. You're saying that he speaks harshly to you. Do you understand that that's something that happens every day in jail? That man has probably seen things that he will never speak of, that he can't even tell you. Can't even tell you. He's seen things that humans not supposed to see. You know what I mean? And so to try to be there in this capacity at this time is just, to me, too heavy of a lift. Just way too heavy of a lift for most people. I don't think there is a woman that he's ready to be with right now, you or otherwise. I think he needs to be with him. He needs to be with him until he's ready to really stand on his own 2 feet and be emotionally mature and not seek validation online and not speak harshly to the woman in his life.
Yeah, I mean, and he probably needs this. You know what I mean? It's like I can't imagine if I was, locked up for 20 years, I would want to experience everything too, right? And all
Mhm.
this wouldn't be an
I
issue
would.
if he wasn't with you. Like if he wasn't with you, none of what he's doing right now would necessarily be an issue because it's understandable. Like we get it. Like you've been locked up. It's kind of like if somebody's like, you got to eat the same thing for 20 years. That moment you tell me I could eat other food, like I'm going out and doing a whole, like, eating everything under the sun because I haven't been able to have that access to those things. So I
Yeah.
completely understand it. It's just like I said, the compatibility for you guys right at this moment doesn't seem like it's there for you guys. And I just don't want people to compromise what they want,
Mhm.
in a relationship based off of what your certain circumstance is. If you know you want something, then stand on that, right? If
That's
you
right.
know you, and also I'll say, don't let somebody tell you that the things that you want aren't that big of a deal, right? Because I feel like that happens a lot too. The gaslighting in
Mhm.
certain situations, it's not that deep. All I'm doing is this. I ain't meeting up, different things that people could say. But if it makes you feel uncomfortable, don't let somebody gaslight you into feeling like something isn't important.
That's right. It's not important to them. It gets to be important to you. Totally. That was a really, really, really great message, Trey. Yeah. So I hope the tough love and the gentle love and just kind of diving into that. And I promise you, honey, a little Google on the impacts of prison, like a couple little scrolls, and you would be rethinking this not only for you but for him too. Like, this isn't, you're not just saving yourself from the situation, you're saving him from the heartache and headache of it all too, truthfully.
For sure, for sure. No, this is lit. This is lit. I want to. We don't have anybody that joins, so like we said, make sure if you want to actually come on to the show, come up on the stage with Rhonda and I and give your opinion. You join a relationship restored community. The link will be in there every week that you could join us. But I want to go through the comments real quick. So,
Yes,
people been active in
absolutely.
here. So, this is Brandon, one of my boys, and we got a man in the chat. But when I was talking about, men got to be ready if they want to commit, he said for sure, as a man, if we aren't ready to commit, no one can make us do it. So that's definitely true. I want to shout out KK too. This is a completely safe space for everybody. Rhonda and I love to have these conversations, but also do our best to treat it with as much care as we possibly can, because we
Yeah,
ain't nobody here perfect, and we done all been through situations that we ain't proud of, made mistakes that
for sure.
we ain't proud of. So it's like
Mm-mm. And we're so
it's
honest about that. You know what I mean? Like that's what makes us good at this, right? Like that we can be honest and share. And we've made bad decisions, stupid decisions. I don't say I live with regret, but yes, if I knew better, I would have done better. So we're not above that. You know what I mean? Like this is a very real place. That's actually no pun intended, but it's a real place. So we're speaking from experience and vulnerably from experience, and also sharing the work that we had to do. You know, it wasn't easy.
for sure. Thank you, Sierra. We're glad that that helped you out.
Yeah.
So, like I said, every single Tuesday, we are going to be here at 8 p.m. doing this live show. People write into us all the time. So, it's like different things. We're going to talk, chat. Again, join a community and you can come up here and talk with us. But we appreciate everybody that participated in the chat for our very first one: Sierra, Brandon,
Angel,
KK,
so
Brittany,
much.
Crystal, Jasmine. We're going to have a lot of fun with this format and are really excited um, to continue to do this.
Absolutely. And listen, if you have a scenario you want to write into us, you head over to our website, relationshiprestore.com. Click that contact button and write into the show. We love obviously talking to you all. Be sure to follow us on social media. I'm at Ronnie Cakes
As Dre Smith.
and at Relationship Restored. And guess what we're going to do? See you next Tuesday at 8
Hey, peace.